Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Morning Coffees with James. I'm James, and this is my morning coffee show. How y'all doing today? I hope y'all doing swell, because today we're going to be talking about GOG and mostly Capcom, and talking about game preservation here. I want to talk about how, first of all, I got to give you the news on this. Recently, GOG was interviewed by The Gaming Business, and they were talking about trying to preserve Resident Evil trilogy. I was about to say just Resident Evil. No, Resident Evil trilogy. And they were talking about how it was difficult trying to deal with Capcom, trying to convince them that they were trying to remaster these games and try to convince them that there was an audience. And the article reads, and I'll read it. Hold on, let me go find it real quick. So many things up here. It's so much porn. Oh, what the fuck? I'm sorry, Ted, too. So this is from their Senior Business Development Manager at GOG, Markin Pazeski, Polish guy. Capcom were, he says, Capcom were like, we have all these remakes. It's already the superior experience to those games. They didn't really see the value in bringing back the vanilla versions, the original versions, the PlayStation 1 versions. It took a lot of convincing that there was an audience that has a lot of memories about those games and would love to experience exactly the same game again. Thankfully, they were able to be convinced. Now, this comment right here where they say it's already the superior experience to those games, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's bullshit. I think it's absolutely bullshit, because honestly, Capcom, this is corporate talk right here. It's this corporate, oh, let's move forward. It's the argument that we heard multiple times about, gaming, progress, going forward, and we have to move forward. Oh, we can't be nostalgic all the time. We got to keep moving forward. And it's weird because movies, books, and other medias don't get this treatment. Most shows and most television shows, movies, and books, cartoons, are mostly preserved. Hell, movies are preserved mostly better than, video games, but video games seem to be treated like software rather than an actual art form. And here's the problem with this whole thing. It's that video games, are an art form, and they should be re-released to the public as they were, or with a little HD, remastering. I don't mind remastering or remakes or reimaginings, which, by the way, the Resident Evil remakes are reimagined. Let's not, beat around the bush with this. It's a reimagine. It's not a remake. If it was a remake, it would be like the Resident Evil 1 remake, which honestly I don't think is the superior version to Resident Evil, nor do I think the old one makes the new one inferior. I can talk about that all day. They both kind of are in a symbiotic relationship in a sense. One doesn't try to make the other one obsolete, and both of them kind of complement one another. And with that being said, I want to talk about Capcom's kind of disrespect to their past, and basically saying that these newer games are the superior experiences. Now, I'm not gonna get into the whole in depth about the games. Let's be honest. Resident Evil 2 was great in the beginning. It's a well-made game. All three of those games are well-made. Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4's remakes are well-made, but they're not the superior experience. The superior experiences are the original games, because a few things. They do things completely different from the newer games. The newer games feel linear. They feel prettier, let's be honest. They have that nice graphics and stuff, but there's a lot of cut content. There's the A-B scenario in Resident Evil 2. There's, I don't want to get into how much terrible things they did with Resident Evil 3, which is a glorified DLC. That doesn't deserve the title of Nemesis. Let's be honest about that. The original Resident Evil 3 is much more superior to Resident Evil 3, like the newer one, which also exposed a lot of flaws with Resident Evil 2 as well. That remake was not that great. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the honeymoon phase kind of faded. I mean, like, let's be honest. The stalker enemy was... I'm tired of stalker enemies in survival horror games that are just kind of like, can we at least take a swing at them so they can get like knocked down, so we can take stuff from them? Give us a challenge. Like, why OG Nemesis was so badass was just like, you had the chance to fight him, and when he was knocked out, like when he was down for the count, bleeding out, you thought, okay, he's done, I'm good, I can go to the next thing. And then he comes back, and through that window, that part always scares the shit out of me. He just bursts through the window. Like, yeah, that's a scary part of that game. You don't know when he was going to show up. Most of those games are linear experiences to begin with. And then there's Resident Evil 4, which I'm honestly angry at the fans who just looked at that game and just, made the, just decided that the original was just now obsolete. Oh, the original sucks now. The remake is so much better. There's the remake. It improved everything. No, it didn't. The way I see the remake, it's basically, the Hyper Turbo, excellent, Hyper Turbo, super power charged, version of that game. And honestly, it tries too hard to outdo the original. But most of those three games try to, outdo their original counterparts, which honestly why I think Resident Evil Remake is so good, because it doesn't try to outdo the original. It tries to improve the original. It tries to amplify the original in all its glory. You know what I mean? Like, you can go back and play the original game and enjoy. Oh yeah, I got a little blue in my tongue. Methylene blue. Go back and enjoy that experience, but those games didn't try to outdo the original. That game didn't try to outdo its original counterpart. Like, the way I see it, it's like Metal Gear. Like, I'll use Metal Gear Solid as an example, but Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes is not the superior experience to Metal Gear Solid. Like, it's just not. Yeah, it's prettier graphics, it's updated, it has interesting, but there's a lot they didn't do right. There's a lot that is just not there. And I could say, I haven't played Delta yet. I do want to try Delta, and I do think that game needed an updated, gameplay mechanic. I do also see the flaw in not having just, able to switch to classic mode on this fly. I don't understand why they couldn't have done that. That's just a shift of camera. The original game did it too. I don't get that. I really don't understand that. It's silly on Konami's part, and mostly remakes and remasters trying to over game preservation. But what was I gonna say? Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes was just kind of like, you tried too hard. You're not really capturing the original whatsoever. You missed the point. You missed everything what made the original games great to begin with. It's like, and the way Capcom's disrespecting this too. I know they're a company, they want to make money, they want to move forward and all this stuff, but it's like, it's stupid. I think it's stupid that they're kind of like, telling everybody, oh look, this is the real experience, this is the superior experience, these old games suck, these old fashion boomer, they're all old sucks, you know what I mean? It's like, we gotta go with a new hip. It's like, your new thing sucks. It's also lacking a lot of things that I just don't really, I'm not scared of your game. It's a linear haunted house amusement park experience, as were the original Resident Evil games were pretty much like going into an abandoned building. You don't know what you're gonna get. Yes, both of those games could be seen as linear experiences, but one of them wanted you to get lost and figure out where you had to go, where the other one, you're not allowed to get lost. Oh, there's yellow tape everywhere. There's yellow paint everywhere. There's fucking pointing directions. It tells you of your where you need to go. It's not a good experience. Like, when I played Resident Evil 2, and I mean both, when I really got into depth with it, I, played Leon A and Claire B. Claire B, I almost got lost because I didn't know what to do. And, trying to find, Sherry's cure, and I was like, where the fuck do I go? And then I found out where to go, and the satisfaction of that. We don't have that anymore with modern games, of figuring things out. And again, the way Capcom's pushing this too, it's like, you know what it is? It's mostly all these game companies that are doing this. It's mostly the gaming industry. They're trying to erase history so that we don't know what we want anymore. Honestly, fans don't know what they want, But we actually there's one thing that we all do want is just to play the older games. I'm not talking about the older fans who know those games are great. I'm talking about younger fans who've never experienced it and should experience it. Like I recently played the Tomb Raider trilogy, the remaster trilogy, and that is the perfect way to remaster it because they had, and I'm also playing it for the PlayStation 4, which is the only way you should play Tomb Raider is on the PlayStation. It feels unnatural playing it on the Xbox. It's like, what are you doing here, Laura? Go back to PlayStation. You should be a PlayStation exclusive. Just stay there, girl. But it's just so. But it was a great experience because they didn't really change anything. They didn't censor anything. They didn't like change anything except for graphical improvements, which you could change on the fly. They can go back to the old PlayStation graphics or to the new, polished graphics, and. It also has the modern controls, which I'm honestly like, I don't like it because there's no real weight to it. It's just like, oh, she can move wherever the fuck she wants, instead of it feeling like I'm there. I'm actually controlling a human being who's, kick ass and taking names. That's the way you should do a remaster. That's the way you should be doing a remaster. Not changing anything, not taking anything out, not censoring, which honestly I'm fucking tired of people just removing shit because of fifis. But just, give us the experience we want. And honestly, there is an audience for that. And honestly, I'm honestly somebody who also believes that I don't find the remakes to be canon. I find them to be just a different version of take of that story. Those original games are canon. And yes, Resident Evil 0 and, remake are canon. Resident Evil remake and the original kind of work together because one feels like the Hollywood movie and the other one feels like, oh, this is what really happened. Which I'm honestly okay with that. Also, another thing I love about the original Resident Evil is how barren everything is and how like lightly the aesthetic of that place. It's like well lit, not a lot of pictures and stuff of that nature up there. And it's scary because what I've heard from a theory from somebody that I know they didn't do it intentionally, but it builds onto the mystique of it. Is that the original Spencer Mansion was used as a nuke town. If you don't know what a nuke town is, they basically set up a little like mock town to drop a nuke on to see how it, bombs would, annihilate an entire, civilization. But back onto the subject, again, I find it's kind of like disrespectful because again, they want to erase history, so all the offensive male chauvinism, like all that nonsense. And I know I'm sounding political here, and I'm sounding, getting social here, but it's like, it just seems like that. It seems like they're trying to erase history, and they're trying to show everybody this is the new improvement. Oh, we're not like sexist and racist, which is bullshit because it's like, most of your games have some eroticism to it. Street Fighter, for example, you censored Onimusha, too, I believe. You don't want to talk about that. You have a lot of cut content. And those newer games have a lot of cut content. Do I mention the spiders? Do I mention the clock tower in Resident Evil 3? Do I mention, most of the length in Resident Evil 3 is just bland. Like, the last boss battle with Nemesis is just, like, they really butchered 3. And honestly, 2 and 4 just, I'm not that impressed. It's like, oh, it's, I'd rather play the original games. I'm going to make a review of that and just give you why I think the original games are so much better. I'm not really excited for any more remakes. Like, I know they're not going to remake Resident Evil 5 because of racism. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch my video talking about Resident Evil 5. It's not a bad game, okay? It's not. It's really not. But I think, Capcom is just kind of stupid. I think and then also that most of these big game companies, they don't understand why they want to play these original games. And again, it's hard to get in some of these original games too. People want to play these games because of gaming history. And this is how you learn how to make a great video game. Like, why do you see, like, a lot of people making 2D platforms and reinventing that wheel or trying to find a new vehicle for that wheel? It's that, it's basically trying to learn how the mechanics work, learning how gaming works, how to structure a video game, how the technical part of video games work, how the animation, how this, it's like the same thing of watching older movies. How do these people do it? What invites an audience to watch a certain movie? Like, why do we watch the older Ghostbusters? Why do we watch, older movies? Why do we read older books? Why do we watch older media? How are they telling their stories? How are they, illustrating telling their stories? How do they do the technical limitations of the special effects? How they do, shots? How they did story pacing? How they, introduce characters? How they do this? And I think that's, why the same thing with gaming. How do they do this story better? Why does this do this better than the new one? And I think the problem is that and I have to agree with this too, most games are coming out, most games now want to be movies, and I think that's not what we want anymore. We don't want these cinematic, interactive experiences. We just want video games. Get to the fucking point. I'm tired of just having the controls taken away from me for a moment so we can have a walking sim for a moment where the characters exchange dialogue. I'd rather just be a cutscene rather than just be I gotta stop for a minute so we can walk and talk. It's like no. I want to keep moving. Like, I didn't mind cutscenes in video games because it just means okay, I can take a break. Unless it's Resident Evil 4 where you're like, oh shit, hi. But even then, it's like I feel like people don't get that. Like, and GOG, good for them because now they're gonna try to do Vampire the Masquerade. I'm willing to play that game. There's a lot of games out there like I want to play and replay, but we don't get that anymore. And hell, I say all games. It's like you shouldn't just hide this from people. I mean, imagine Nintendo doing this, where they're just like, oh, we can't have the original Mario Brothers anymore. That we got the superior, Mario Galaxy. No bullshit. Like the original Mario still holds up graphically, not really, but you gotta understand it's an NES, and that argument too. Like, well, it's graphically. What makes the game? Why is having improved graphics making that game better? Like, granted, I get it. It looks pretty, but to be honest with you, the original, like, good older games do have some fun qualities to them. Yes, even like games that have poor graphics, it's like they have some kind of thing that draws you near. The gameplay mostly. Tetris is a great example of that. Yeah, the first Mario Brothers. It's like you play that first Mario Brothers game, you can understand how to play it. And yes, it had only 5 buttons on there, and that includes the D-pad, start and select, and A and B. But it's how gaming evolved. You see that, and especially with Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, and Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. Like, you see the evolution of the technical, like, you see the improvements in those games, and you go back to play the original games, you're like, oh shit, this is what they did, and how they did it, and why these games are so much better. That's how you do shit, man. That's how you do good gaming half the time. And I think people don't want to realize that. They don't want people to, they don't want people to ignore the new thing so they can go back into the old thing. And I think that's bullshit. I think you should be allowed to play the older games. For, not just for historical reasons, but for, like, educational reasons. So understand how games are made. Like, why do you think a lot of people are still, like, remaking... Why do you think a lot of people are making games based off that, fixed camera and tank control style that Resident Evil is known for? Because that style actually works. That style is more interesting. It works, and it actually feels more... You feel more invested in that. Like, not to say Over the Shoulder doesn't work. I mean, hell, I think Resident Evil 4 OG works better over the shoulder because it's fixed to your back. There's no freedom of moving the camera around 360 degrees around. It's fixed to your back, so it means that you see what Leon sees and you don't see what's behind him, which I think is more appropriate. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what that's why we need to preserve these older games, so we can understand how they work and how they understand, But I digress. I think Capcom is kind of stupid for saying this,